Hello people, well in today's tutorial we're gonna learn how to make a Pokeball. So the Pokeball is, I've already got a preset file over here, so the Pokeball is gonna look something like this. And well, what we're gonna do is that we're gonna make a camera and a Pokeball, and we're gonna make a camera rotate around the Pokeball. So it'll be looking something like this. And don't worry about the black spot over here, since when you render it, it'll be totally gone. See, it's gone. So let's continue. We've also got a black spot over here. Well, when you render it, as the previous one had gone, this will also be gone. The lighting is gonna cover up that black hole, and this is the way it's gonna be animated. Anyways, let's see how to do that. So let's get back to a file and add a sphere. Let's just zoom in and then add a cube. I'm gonna get cube, this on top side of the cube, to the middle of the sphere. Exactly at the, not exactly at the middle, a bit above the middle. And then I'm gonna go to my array and then add a bool. Well, now I'll get the cube under the sphere, select the sphere and the cube and get it under the bool. That gives me a hemisphere because the cube has cut down the sphere. And now you see over here in the Pokeball, after you make a sphere, you also need a cut over here. So how do you get that cut? Is that you get back to your file and then add another cylinder, and maybe rotate it by an angle of 90 degrees, then change its radius to 20 centimeters and also decrease its height and get it over here. Well, I'm gonna make one small change. I'm gonna drag my cube in more down, approximately this much. And now I'm gonna get my cylinder under the bool and then probably name this as top. And then I'm going to add another bool, select my top and the cylinder and get it under the bool. Well, this carves out my bool over here, this top part over here. And you see this curve, this cylinder, sorry, the sphere is not really smooth, so let's get back to the sphere and change the segments to 100 to make it look a bit smoother. And then copy this bool and then paste it and rotate it by an angle of 180 degrees. 180 degrees. Well, that does good. And then actually let's get back to a cube and then decrease the height to which it is rising by approximately 3 clicks, and then similarly over here. Well, it's been too much, so 94 should do it. Over here also 94. Well, yeah, pretty good. And now I'm going to add another sphere and decrease its radius. First increase the segments to 100 and decrease the radius to 95. So you see under these two hemispheres on top and the bottom, I get another sphere inside it. So when I render it, it looks something like this. You got the basic model of a Pokeball. Well, in the Pokeball that we had seen over here, there are two hexagonal kind of structures that is coming out from the middle. So we have to make that also. You see, let me just zoom in and show it to you. So this is what I'm talking about. Let it render so you could see it. See, you see this part, this is what I'm talking about. So let's get back and then click on Untitled 3 and then add another cylinder, rotate it by an angle of 90 degrees, decrease its radius to something like 18 centimeters, and then decrease the height also along with it, and definitely drag it out. So I guess we're cool on that. Maybe 45 should do it perfectly. No, well, 46 should do. Yeah, no, it should be in more. And wait, first we have to decrease the radius, I guess, to make it look a bit more realistic. That'll do. And then hit to coordinates and click increase the z-axis, I mean the x-axis. Yeah, that's pretty cool. And then copy this cylinder, Control C and V, and decrease this radius from 16 to something like 13, and again drag out the cylinder, something like this. Now you see we've made a Pokeball, but then we've got to add textures to it. So for that, before we add the textures, I'm gonna click on my floor, get a floor. I'm gonna get my floor at the bottom and make sure that my Pokeball is not being influenced to the floor. Cool. Now that we've done that, let's get back to a Pokeball and start adding materials to it. So this, as you can see in this over here, this should be red, this should be white, and this should be black, and these two should also be white but not as bright as this. So for that, let's get to our Untitled 3, start adding materials, double click on this, click on the color, make it red, bright red, then get to luminance and take it to activate it and decrease the brightness to 10%. Well, adding luminance is not important, but then it just gives an realistic effect. And then get your reflection, activate the reflection and decrease the brightness to 10% once again. Then again, as you can see, it's not giving you realistic effects, so I'm gonna go to my texture and click on Frenesel, that is a preset, and decrease the mix strength to 20%. Now that should do. Now I'll copy this material and paste it once for this and once for this and then once for these two. So totally I have to paste it 4 times. So 1, 2 and okay, no, 3 times I have to paste to get 4 materials. This material I'm going to name it top, and this I'm going to name it bottom. Well, I'm just naming them to avoid confusion, you need not do that. This I'm going to name it as middle, and this I'm going to name it as the pointers. UINTS. Cool. So the top's totally fine. Now the bottom has to be white in color, aggressive white. Oh shit, I guess I made a small mistake. I changed the reflection to white in color. I have to change the color to white in color. In the middle to black, intense black, and then these two centers, that is a pointer, to not really white but yeah, kind of white. Now let's start adding these colors, and then the black in the middle, and then at on the pointers. The pointers look a bit faded, so let me just increase the intensity of white color. Yeah, that should do. And now let's render it out. So this is what my Pokeball looks right now, how it looks. Now what I'm gonna do is, I want to make it look realistic, so I'm gonna add some reflection. I mean, the reflection is already added, but then we need an object to which this should reflect. So for that, I'm going to add in a plane and increase its width into height to something like 800 into 800. Okay, wait, this is too much, so 600 into 600 should do, I guess. Yeah, pretty good. And then get it on top then add another material and name it as plane. Double click, color, make it white in color, then get to luminance and let the luminance be 100% and let the color be white, and then drag this and drop it on the plane. Well, I activated the luminance so that this could radiate out some light, so that when I get to my Pokeball I get an effect on top of this, the white color effect over here. Well, let me just drag down my plane since I want to increase the effect of that white color, and now try to render it out. And now it's pretty fine. Now you see my Pokeball is ready and everything's ready. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to select all the components of my Pokeball, that is Pool 1, the spear and the 2 cylinders, and click on Alt G and rename this as Pokeball. I clicked on Alt G so that I can compile it to make one single object. So you see all these objects have been compiled to make one single object named as a Pokeball. And I could click on this minus sign to collapse all the objects and the plus sign to show all the objects. So now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to make some, add some lights. So for that I click on light and then I go to my array and then get the light under the array, and then I go to my array and change the radius to something like 800, and also I'm thinking of rotating my array by an angle of 45 degrees along the pitch to make it look something like this. And this is the reason I got a white hole over here, but never worry, because I'm going to copy this array and paste it and change the 45 degrees to minus 45 degrees. So that's pretty cool because I've got the lighting effect. So let's see how does it look like right now when I render it. Well, it's pretty bright, so I have to decrease the brightness. So I expand both my rays, click on both my lights and go to my general and change the intensity of the light to 80%. And now let me try to render it. It's still too bright. Let me just go to the array maybe and change the radius to 1000 centimeters and decrease the light intensity to 60%. Now let me render it. Yeah, this looks fine. And now for the last that we are left with is the camera effect. So I'm gonna click on my camera and get the target camera. I've got my camera target and my camera. I'm gonna select both of them like this and click on Alt G to compile it to make it one single object. Select the coordinates, make the X and the Z coordinates as 0, and then get to my 4 views, zoom out and then expand this and check my camera target and change these also to 0, 0, 0. Since I want my camera target to be on the center, keep the camera target selected, get it to the center from all the sides. Now click on I am going to click on my camera and drag it behind and then down. Yeah, I think this is pretty cool. And now before I do anything else, before I touch my camera, I would make sure that I go to my edit render settings and change my width into as 1920 pixels and the height into 1080 pixels. Yeah, now I would play around with my camera. So let the you go to your perspective views and go to use camera and change it to camera over here, so that you see what the camera is seeing. So I don't want the plane to be seen, so one simple solution is that first deactivate the camera view, get to the top and drag the plane a bit up to avoid the camera to see the plane, and then collapse all of them, and then click on the camera, activate your camera to see what the camera can be seeing, what the camera is seeing, and then click on this camera and drag it like this. Yeah, this is fine. And then get your Pokeball and maybe rotate it by an angle of 45 degrees. Well, that was my mobile that just rang. I got a small message. I got a message from my friends. Wait, sorry, make it minus 30 degrees or maybe minus 20 degrees, and then change the pitch to, well, actually first rotate it by some angle 20 degrees over here, this manner, and then you change this to minus 20 degrees. Or yeah, this looks fine. And then get your perspective view. So this is what your camera is seeing right now, and I'm gonna render this to see how does it look like. Well, it looks pretty cool. So what you're gonna do now, since I want my camera to be rotating like this, what I'm gonna do is click on my null that has my camera target as well as the camera. Wait, let me actually try to expand this. Well, no, it's not expanding. I have no idea why. Anyways, take that thing light. What I'm going to do is that select my null that is my camera and the camera target, and click on record active objects. And since I want my, I generally like keeping my videos at 60 frames per second, so I'm gonna make it 60. And then since I want my video to be 10 seconds long, I'm gonna change my maximum time to 600 frames and preview max time also to 600. Now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna drag my frame to 600 and select my null and change it to 360 degrees, that is one full rotation, and then again click on record active objects. So what's that gonna do is that it's gonna make my Pokeball rotate in this manner. So this is how my Pokeball is gonna rotate. Well, this is actually pretty slow, so instead of making the video 10 seconds long, let me just make it 5 seconds long. So I'm gonna click on this frame and then drag it to 300, just like this. And then I'm gonna go to my project settings by clicking Ctrl D once again and change maximum time from 600 to 300 and preview time to 300. And then click on rotation. Click on my animation to see how does it look like. Yeah, this is cool. Now let me just give you a rendered view of this picture. How does it look like? And if I want, I can go to my render settings, click on save, luminous tutorials, and then maybe Pokeball animation, and click on save. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to render this, and since it's going to take us, wait, let me just stop this render. Stop this render. I don't know why am I doing that. Click on my render settings and change my format from TIFF to AVI, since I want it to be in the form of a movie and not a picture. And now I'm gonna click on my render to picture viewer. It's gonna take a long time to render, so let me directly skip to the render and show you how does this look like. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, like it, and do share it.